and to all of you. I am very much looking forward to going to Turkey very soon. I just wanted, you're right across the street from my law office. I have a full-time law office right here in Baltimore City, and I'm a state delegate with Jocelyn Penny-Melnick and with Senator Young and with a group of 181 legislators around the state trying to keep Maryland moving forward. If I can just take 30 seconds to say this, that we live in challenging times here in Maryland. It's because of organizations like yours that we are staying 2 steps ahead of those new threats facing our families. And 30 years ago, when we thought about public safety, it was about crime in the streets. When we thought about environmental protection, it was about trash in the ocean. When we thought about consumer protection, it was about making sure you bought a safe new car. And when we thought about civil rights, the road to equality for each and every one of us was very, very long and nearly impossible to navigate. And those challenges are still with us today. Crime in the streets, trash in our bay, con artists and bigots are still with us today. But with the internet and other new technologies that are exacerbating old problems, they're giving criminals and predatory businesses new methods of exploiting you. And it's because of the work that you guys do in your administration, your association, and in educating us about the amazing thing that our young people are doing and that our communities are doing, that we are able to tackle these next generation issues and not lose focus on older persistent problems. So I am running for Attorney General for the state of Maryland. I don't want to make this a political speech, although I already have. But I just want to say that I look to you to give me advice and counsel on how to make sure that we are staying 2 steps ahead in this rapidly changing world. And whether it's cyberbullying and cyber crimes, or whether it's trash in the ocean, or whether it's consumer protection and making sure that your businesses and you are safe from people trying to take advantage of our children, our daughters, our sons. I look to you to help me make sure that happens. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Let me just say this. I see everybody using their iPhones to take pictures. My daughter, who's nearly 2 years old, she already knows how to play music on my wife's iPhone, and her relationship with her grandparents is over Skype. She knows how to operate it. She doesn't even talk that much yet. This is the kind of new world that we live in, when we can go to Turkey in a moment's notice and make friends with people all the way across the world. So I ask you to be my partners in making Maryland a leader and staying 2 steps ahead of those new threats facing our families. Thank you so much.
I no longer wish to stand before you in your dinner. Thank you. Congratulations once again to our young and talented artists. You have been assigned a table. If you don't know your table number, we would love to help you at the registration desk. We're going to go to the adjacent ballroom if you go to the Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the grand historic venue here in Baltimore. We're truly honored to have each and every one of you tonight at our 7th annual Dialogue Dinner, jointly sponsored by Rumi Forum, Martu, and the American Turkish Friendship Association, Maryland. Our theme this year is the environment, with the motto, Think Green, Live Green. Our distinguished guests include members of the Maryland State Senate, members of the Maryland House of Delegates, elected officials from Anne Arundel County, Baltimore County, Howard County, Prince George's County, and presidents and members of the boards of education from these counties as well. Also here tonight, deans, chairmen, professors, and medical doctors from the following universities, in alphabetical order, by no means according to their budget. The Catholic University of America, Coppin State University, the Johns Hopkins University, Loyola University, Maryland, Morgan State University, Towson University, the University of Maryland, and the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. We also have scientists from NASA, Goddard Space Flight Center, attorneys, state attorneys, faith leaders, community leaders, and school principals. Once again, welcome. Without further ado, for the opening speech, I'd like to welcome President of the American Turkish Friendship Association, Maryland, and President of MARTE, Mr. Murat Özbaş.
Distinguished guests, on behalf of Maryland Turkish American inhabitants, I would like to welcome you to our annual Peace, Dialogue, and Friendship Dinner. Every year, we partner with our sister organization, the Rumi Forum, and organize these dinners in selected cities. Mr. Emre Çelik is here from the Rumi Forum, and he will talk about the Rumi Forum. I will take a few minutes of your time to briefly talk about MARTE. Maryland Turkish American Inhabitants is a non-profit, non-governmental, and non-politically affiliated organization dedicated to addressing the social and cultural needs of Turkish, Turkic, and American friends living in Maryland. We started with a small office suite in December of 2003 in Baltimore. Today, we have 2 community centers in Rockville and Hagerstown, and our headquarters in Baltimore is the largest Turkish American community center in the East Coast. Our organization promotes intercultural and interfaith dialogue and friendship through educational and cultural activities. We believe that we can build stronger bridges within our community if we get to know one another. In addition to dialogue dinners, some of our major activities include annual legislative receptions in Annapolis, where our second reception initiated the idea of finding a sister state for the state of Maryland in Turkey. Secretary of State Mr. John McDonough made this request, and after much consideration, we have decided that province of Kocaeli would be our perfect choice. The sister state agreement was signed the following year at our third reception with Governor O'Malley. Noah's Pudding gatherings. Also known as Ashure, Noah's Pudding is a dessert that symbolizes friendship and unity, as people in Turkey share this dish with their friends and neighbors at a certain time of the year. We like to serve this dish as guests at churches and community centers. This is a good opportunity for members of our community to have a friendly conversation and get to know one another. Daily iftar dinners during the holy month of Ramadan. These dinners are open to public, and some of our guests include church groups, elected officials and other public servants, and local university professors. The daily attendance at our headquarters last year was between 150 to 200 people. Next year, the month of Ramadan will be in the month of July, and we look forward to seeing all of you at one of our community centers. Bring your family, friends, and members of your church for nice, freshly made, authentic Turkish food. And last but not least, sponsored intercultural study trips to Turkey. For those who want to experience the full flavor of Turkish hospitality, this is your opportunity. This is a 9-day trip that begins on Friday night and ends the following Sunday. Participants will get a chance to explore Grand Bazaar, visit local families, schools, media outlets, touristic sites such as Hagia Sophia Museum, ancient city of Ephesus, and many more. Moreover, MARTE is made up of volunteers, entrepreneurs, and philanthropists who are inspired by a grassroots movement called the Hizmet movement, where the word hizmet in Turkish means service. Inspired by a Turkish scholar named Mr. Fethullah Gülen, millions of people around the world gather locally and act collectively to institute schools, dialogue centers, and social service organizations. Recently, MARTA and its sister social service organizations in the Mid-Atlantic region decided to come together and adopt a new common name. So I would like to take this opportunity to officially announce that our new name will be American Turkish Friendship Association of Maryland, or ATFA. This is the original name of our sister organization in Virginia. We believe that this name is a better reflection of the ideas and activities that we promote. I'd like to thank you for taking time to join us for dinner this evening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Özbaş. Our next speaker can be introduced by many titles. I'll go with faith leader, journalist, environmental lover, and activist. Please welcome Miss Mary Gout.
Said I didn't expect to be first, so I had to take a double take. How wonderful to be here at this event. This is, I guess, the third time that I have been with some of you who visited my church. And I attended one of the iftar dinners last August, and I encourage all of you to do that. I thank you for the vision of friendship and dialogue and culture that we are enjoying tonight and continue to enjoy. It's truly heartening to see so many of you gathered here that also care about the health and sustainability of this planet that we call home. Last week, I spent 4 days with a group of about 40 people from across the country, an interfaith group known as Green Faith, trying to think about how we within the religious community could better address the issues that are facing our planet and our future. My roommate was a wonderful Muslim woman who helped plan some sustainability programs for her home country of Indonesia after the tsunami. On the second day, I was curious about how she knew where to face for her prayers during the day and evening. So I asked her, and first she was telling me about the sun and compass points and other things, and then she smiled and she held up her iPhone and she said, but there's also an app for that. And we talked about how technology is so wonderful, but it does kind of separate us from the cycles of the earth and its seasons and its days and its nights. We depend on science and technology for so much. Science gives us the data we need and the explanations for what's happening to our soil and our water and our air. We're indebted to it for demonstrating compellingly how intertwined our lives are with all the lives of all the species on Earth. And we need science to help us understand the urgency of addressing climate change if we want our grandchildren to inherit a healthy future. But I imagine that you would agree that science alone cannot solve this problem. It can't save us. We need to learn how to live differently, to dream more responsibly, to curb the excesses that have characterized so much of our modern life. We need a new definition of the good life that is less dependent on consuming and more dependent on quality of relationships, like we're enjoying here tonight. And I think this is where our religious traditions have a particular urgency and relevance, because they give us moral visions of what is important. My Christian scriptures, like the sacred texts of other traditions, do not offer specifics on how to deal with climate change. They don't talk about how to get the pH level of the Chesapeake Bay to a healthy level. What they give us is a mandate to love our neighbor as ourselves. And when we look at those stunning photographs of Earth from space, we recognize how small this place really is, and how our neighbors are not just those who live across the street, but those who live across the ocean, and even include other species that inhabit this earth with us. So loving our neighbor means now things like caring for other species that are threatened with extinction. It means loving neighbor enough not to put a polluting plant in their neighborhood that we wouldn't want in ours. Not cutting down the rainforest just so we can eat more hamburger. Means loving future generations enough to work diligently to address the issue of climate change. And Jesus also taught his followers that the good life is not to be found in that fast-paced, acquisitive lifestyle that our culture promotes, a lifestyle which is contributing to the depletion of resources and the profligate use of fossil fuels. He said once, observe the birds and the flowers. Look at nature and how God has designed it as an interdependent unity, each taking what it needs and no more, and giving out of the gifts that it has been given. A delicate, beautiful balance. Let nature be your guide, Jesus taught, taking only what is needed, living in balanced relationship. In the Christian tradition, as I believe in many other traditions, we define the good life not as amassing of power and wealth, but as one lived as neighbors and friends, and helping each other and living gently on this earth. And I think that there are a lot of people out there who are looking for a different vision of how to live. And I think that our traditions can offer that. And in working together, we also show that it is possible to do that, to come and join together across things that once divided us, to love our neighbor and this earth. So thank you again for inviting me here, for hosting these dinners, for encouraging these dialogues. And I hope that all of you are as committed as I am to working for the future of this planet. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you once again. Up next, please enjoy a short video presentation about Rumi Forum, one of the joint sponsors of this event. Please welcome President of Rumi Forum, Mr. Emre Çelik.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on behalf of the Rumi Forum and our partner organizations this evening. As that clip alludes to, we keep ourselves busy around the important themes of peace building, conflict resolution, pluralism, and issues regarding interfaith and intercultural understanding. Such dinners are a very important step, coming together with those we know, and more importantly, those we don't know, those we may consider to be the other, those we may be innocently ignorant about. The first step, we believe, is being able to come together in dialogue. Food is a great means for this. In our various traditions, the concept of breaking bread is well known. So we take the means necessary, whether it be through our gatherings during Ramadan or throughout the year, and look for opportunities to bring people together, to break bread, to follow in that Abrahamic tradition, irrespective of people's background, whether they have faith, are secular or observant or otherwise. So I thank you, I congratulate you for taking that first step, and I look forward to hearing of the more difficult steps in regards to collaboratively working together for the better community that we all strive to be, that we all strive to want. Thank you, and I wish you a pleasant evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chilik. Up next, I'd like to welcome faith leader and team strategist for the Baptist Convention of Maryland and Delaware, Dr. David Jackson.
Honored dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, it's a delight and a privilege to be able to be with you tonight. Thank you so much for inviting me to participate in a time of fellowship, a time of dialogue with all of you here at the 7th Annual Dialogue Dinner. Let me express my appreciation to those that are my friends, Murat, Mehmet, and others, and connections among the Maryland Turkish American inhabitants, known as Marty, and to the Rumi Forum and to the American Turkish Friendship Association in Maryland. I thank you for hosting this wonderful event. I thank you for the gracious way you've extended your hospitality to all of us as well. You know, over the past 12 years, I've had a colleague in ministry within my faith community where I serve, the Baptist Convention of Maryland and Delaware, who has taught me many valuable life lessons that make me the person I am today. One of these lessons is very evident here tonight. When people from different perspectives, different values, different beliefs, even different nations of the world sit together in fellowship face to face, disagreements become smaller, and obstacles seem no longer insurmountable. In such moments, the future holds more hope and promise for us all. Our Turkish brothers and sisters have shared this lesson with us themselves. They have gone out of their way to offer opportunities for many of us to participate in their cultural events, to share in their faith experiences, to dialogue about virtually any topic of concern to us, and even to visit their homeland in Turkey. They have not only opened their doors to us, they have also opened to us their hearts. Nothing exhibited this more to me than the opportunity in the September of 2012 to travel to the wonderful country of Turkey with them. We saw many historical sites. We saw beautiful, beautiful areas in their country. One of the most amazing things of all, though, for me were the experiences that touched my heart most. And it was the opportunity we had to enter the homes of family members there in those communities, to have fellowship with them, to eat with them as friends and equals, to learn together and to share life together. These were moments I will never forget, and for that I am not only grateful, I am changed for the better. Tonight we're gathered not only to share a moment of brotherhood, but also to acknowledge a common concern for us all, and that is the environment. It is a very real problem and one that requires we all find ways to work together and tackle it. My faith background as an evangelical Christian teaches me to take seriously the words of our sacred scriptures. When I do that, I realize that in the very first chapter of the Bible, Almighty God assigns human beings with the responsibility to govern over creation, with a recognition that, as in everything God assigns to us as human beings, we ultimately answer to Him for our assigned roles and how we carry them out. Now, with due apology to the politicians and those in governance here who are among us tonight, for this is not my calling, my own understanding of humanity's role in dealing with the environment from scriptures and elsewhere is not to restrain it, but to enable it with the proper constraints that promote safety, well-being, and hope for us all. We are here to help the environment flourish, not flounder. We are to subdue it, bring it under control, but not ravage or destroy it. And to that end, we must work together, whether in this great land we call America or elsewhere on this precious planet. Which brings me to a final point. The scriptural record makes very clear in that first chapter in Genesis and all the way to the end of the Christian sacred writings that we human beings are systemically connected to God's creation. After all, according to the Bible, we too are a part of it. And to that end, our actions and our reactions as humans have ramifications on us all and upon this beautiful planet that we call home. Now, I am not telling you anything new here, but consequently, we must do what we can to care and tend to the needs of our environment. We fail to do so at the peril of us all, both now and in generations to come. We enjoyed, in the hour that preceded our time together at dinner here tonight, the wonderful work of children who showed us their beautiful pictures and have done a remarkable favor for us all, helping us to see our world, the environment in which we live, through clear, unfiltered, and unbiased eyes. Perhaps this is what we truly need. It reminds me of a book that my wife is now reading, which tells the story of children asked by their father immediately after 9/11 took place 12 years ago the following question: if you had 5 minutes in front of a group of world leaders, what would you ask them to help make sense of life, faith, hope, and the events that are unfolding around them? Adam, a 7-year-old, said that he would ask the world leaders if they wanted to come over to his house. Maybe, Adam thought, having the leaders over to the house could facilitate better understanding between each of these leaders, and they would become better friends. Richard was next. He said he would ask each of the world leaders what they were hoping for. The idea was that if world leaders knew what each other was hoping for, then perhaps they could start hoping for the same things together. Tonight, our Turkish colleagues have given us the opportunity to become better friends. They have, in essence, invited us into their house, and I, for one, am deeply grateful. Here's hoping it will facilitate better understanding among us all, so that together we can start hoping for the things that will make our world and the people in it greater than ever before. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is a member of the Maryland State Senate. Please give a warm welcome to Senator Verna Jones Rodwell.
Okay. Wearing heels sometimes doesn't work. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I know the hour is late. My words are going to be few. I did not know I had the opportunity to come behind two ministers. so I will be very concise with my wording. First, I would like to thank Marta as well as the Romney Room Forum. Am I pronouncing it correctly? I think that what you both do is so remarkable, and it is so needed in today's society. So I commend you and thank you for coming together on this 7th annual dinner, dialogue dinner, to give us yet one more opportunity to be in tune with our softer, more humane side. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to just share a few words with you. If I may acknowledge someone who is here this evening who was very shy, and when he was introduced to me, kind of downplayed his shyness, and that's Allah Igan. He's a 16-year-old young man who didn't want us to know that he received a perfect score with his AP physics exam. He said, "Oh, that's nothing." But you see, we celebrate him. We celebrate him, and we celebrate the 8 winners of the art contest because they are our future. You know, I come to you this evening as a legislator, but part of what really drew me to my years of service was my parents, their teachings. And they got me involved in the longest environmental program in this country, which was spearheaded by the Afro-American newspaper, and it was called Clean Block. And it was about taking responsibility for your environment, and that stuck with me. However, that program is one of the very few programs left, not just in Baltimore City, but around the country, to really help young people to get in tune with their environment, and to go further and do the types of development that you hear from the dialogues. Love thy neighbor, protect thy neighbor. It is not just about keeping our own individual place here on this earth clean, but it is about protecting our community, about making sure that our community is a safe and clean place so that we can all live. So I'm glad to see that you put in place, Marta, a program which helps individual children to think this through, to get them away from the television screens and the video games and the iPads and iPhones, but to get them thinking about what it means to be in a community. I look at the art that was in the other room, and I see cigarette on one of the pictures. One side of the body of water was filled with garbage, and the other side was clean. And then you had on the side that was clean the trees and the grass, and on the side that was littered with garbage, dull and dreary and unhealthy. And for a young person to be thinking about that is something that we really need to get in tune with. We take too much as adults for granted that, oh, they'll learn to take care of themselves and their homes and their communities. But no, we have to provide these opportunities so that they keep thinking about it. And that is how the world gets better. That is how we begin to love one another more. That is how we begin to take care of our brothers and sisters. When sitting down at the Maryland General Assembly on the Budget and Taxation Committee, I have the opportunity to fund the Department of Environment. And we give token bits of money for the environment. The monies that go to the environment usually go to those things that, like the Marcellus Shell and look at gas emissions, which is very important, but it does not go to programs that help to fuel the minds of the youth and older people to take care of the communities that we live in. And what do we get when that is not done? When the public sector and the private sector do not really make the type of investments that's needed to start from the grassroots. We get cities that are infested with vacant houses. We get cities and communities that are invested with garbage and rats. We get crime, we get drug infestation. So, tonight I say to you, let us all come together. Let us all work for the good of the whole, not our individual silo and the individual parts, but let us take the spirits that you have heard about from the two previous speakers to the next level. And go out and touch a neighbor, touch a friend, have a conversation with your mates tonight. Embrace your children and whisper in the ear how important it is to love one another, how important it is to keep embracing one another. And then even tomorrow morning, just remind them. Let us not get hyped on the moment, but let us take the moment into the rest of our lives. Because by working together, it will work. I'm sure all of you have seen that type of experience where working together has worked. So again, I thank you for this opportunity to kind of just share a few words with you, and I look forward to working with you. And inshallah, we have to be very serious about this, but it is only if God is willing. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Up next, I'd like to invite Senator Ron Young for his remarks.
Well, I didn't know till 2 minutes ago that I was going to be up here speaking, but it's a pleasure. This is the third dinner I've been to, and thanks to many of you, I've been to Turkey twice now. Had a fabulous time. It was a fabulous country. I think I, like a lot of Americans, never really thought about Turkey. Didn't have a positive image of it, didn't have a negative image. It's just Turkey. And I came away, I haven't stopped talking about it since I first went. It's a fabulous country and fabulous people. And as was stated, the homes we visited, the friendships we made, the people, it was just incredible. We're at a time right now where assassination of President Kennedy is being talked about. I remember I was at the University of Maryland when I found out, and actually snapped at a woman who told me about it. She told me President Kennedy had just died, and I said, I don't think that's funny at all, and didn't realize that it had really happened. He was an inspirational person. He's one that actually got me re-interested in politics. I actually worked in my first campaign in 1952 for Adlai Stevenson. But Kennedy totally inspired me. And it wasn't but 7 years after his death that I ran for office the first time, some 40-some years ago. But he challenged us to go to the moon. And we made it to the moon. And it's 50 years now, and I think it's time for a new challenge. It's a challenge to protect our Earth and to learn to live in peace. And we've not done a very good job at doing either. I was amazed at the young children tonight. They're their drawings, their paintings, their interest in the environment. I can tell you I didn't think about art or the environment when I was the age of those children. But I've been fortunate to have a lot of careers, and some of them led me in that direction. And I worked for several governors and actually developed a smart growth program for Governor Glendening and took it nationwide. I like to joke for Governor Schaefer, I did the Economic Growth Resource Protection and Planning Act, and there's a section of that that says you have to protect rare and endangered species. And I said that came back to save me as one of the very few Democrats in Western Maryland. We're a rare and endangered species. But since then, moving on with Department of Planning, Deputy Secretary of the Department of Natural Resources, and now serving on the Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs Committee. I've really come in touch with the environment, and it was extra motivation for me to come down tonight because I'm also an artist. So seeing the children doing their artwork and concerned about the environment was very interesting to me. And we really need to set examples for those children and to listen to those children. I just thinking while I was sitting there, was a story of a gentleman in a very poor country, had his family and his father living with him, and was struggling and could barely feed them. And one day he realized or thought that he couldn't do it anymore, and he asked his little son to go get a blanket because he was going to put his father out because he couldn't feed him anymore. So when his young son came back, he brought half of a blanket. And his father said, "But son, I told you to get a whole blanket. Why did you tear it in half?" And he said, Daddy, I wanted to save it for the day that I had to put you out. So it's something to think about. And, you know, we need to watch the kinds of examples we set for our children because they're very, very observant. And, you know, when we look at the environment today, many of those children are much smarter than we are, and we need to be paying attention to them. I'm reintroducing a bill in the Senate this year. I didn't even get a vote on it last year, but we're building zero-energy houses in Frederick. We have more zero-energy houses in Frederick than the rest of the country has. I wanted to nickname the city Emerald City because they're emerald-level houses. They don't require coal or oil or gas. They're totally self-sufficient homes. I introduced that bill last year and half sarcastically and half seriously said to the committee, "You're not going to know how to deal with this bill because it's the best environmental bill that's ever been here, and it makes money, it doesn't spend money." I would like, assuming that I'm reelected, to actually make that the building code for the state before I go out of office. When we can build houses like that and do it at market rate, we shouldn't be building anything else. They don't require any of those things, and they don't require the expansion of the grid system. It's a great way to go. So there's a lot going on in the world today to make it a greener, better place to live. And I think we really need to look at those things and not try to put them down, but recognize how we can use them to make it a better world. So it was a great opportunity for me to come down again, see some old friends, and my tour guide in one of the trips. If any of you haven't been and get invited, I don't care what you have planned, cancel it and go. It's a wonderful trip, a wonderful country, wonderful people. It's just really fantastic. And again, I'd like to thank all of you for the opportunity that you gave me to get to know you and to see your country or our country here too. But it's wonderful and great friendships. And no matter how long I live, I'll never forget the people I've met and the places I've been. And thank you again for having me.
Thank you, Senator. For the final remarks tonight, I'd like to invite our next speaker, who's a professor of religion and culture at the Catholic University of America. Please welcome Dr. Pim Falkenberg.
My friend Mehmet Bey had said to me, well, I'll leave you alone, have you have a quiet evening. And then later he came to me and said, well, maybe a few words. So I wrote 4 words on the backside of my MARC train, because that's how I commute to DC from Baltimore. My first word is that I'm really very moved that I'm standing in front of this poster talking about American-Turkish Friendship Association. The reason is I'm neither American nor Turkish, I'm Dutch. So that says a lot about this kind of friendship, that it includes even Dutch. And I think it also says something that is very typical and that I've learned to appreciate both from the United States and from Turkey, namely hospitality. So hospitality for letting me be here on my green card. Hospitality also for the Turkish people who have received me so often and so hospitable. When I thought about, okay, I need to say something about the environment, I was thinking, well, maybe this symbol of our being together in friendship at the table is probably the best symbol for taking care for the environment. And let me try to tell you what I mean by that. I'm a professor of religion and culture. I just taught a class this afternoon on comparative readings of the Quran. And we were reading apart from Surah Al-Ma'idah, the 5th surah of the Quran, which is a surah that talks a lot about Christian-Muslim relations. And there is this strange story towards the end of the surah that talks about Jesus asking God on behalf of the disciples to send down a Ma'idah from heaven. And it's not so clear what that means. So usually it's translated as the table. But the book that we were discussing translated it as the banquet. And it has all kinds of connotations. I won't talk about it because that will really give you a difficult hour. But it has all kinds of associations, both with Christianity, with the commemoration of Jesus, with the Eucharist, but also with the feast of the Islamic faith. But I was thinking this symbol of the banquet, sitting together in friendship, being hospitable for one another, might be a very good sign of our concern for the environment, because it really requires us to slow down. Not as I watch in my own family with 3 young adult children who are running into the kitchen, grabbing something from the fridge and saying, okay, I need to go, see you later. So we really try to have some time together, and it's really difficult. I think that's what we can learn from Turkey, even though I noticed that when I was having one of these meals with friends in Turkey, that some of them were constantly on their ringtones, cell phones, and one of them actually managed to have 2 at the same time. So I think Americans, Turkish people, well, if we take more time for one another, we probably will have better friendships. We will enjoy our food better. So it's kind of this slow food movement, which I think is not only very good for the environment, but also gives us the opportunity to think about our friendships and maybe think also a little bit about where all this food came from. So it has this idea of taking care for the environment together as well. And I hope that we can do something of that. And I'm really very happy that I'm, as a Dutchman, can be a part of this Turkish-American friendship. Thank you very much.
This concludes our program. We really sincerely hope that you had a good time and also had a chance to get to know one another. Thank you for having me as your host. Also, with your presence, thank you for making this special event extraordinary. I would now like to invite everyone, including our young artists, to the stage area for a group photo. Thank you.